right, next question comes from Dr. J144, and this is a good one. Is Larry Fitzgerald, current free agent for the first time in his career, underappreciated? I'd argue he's had a better career than Randy Moss or Terrell Owens. Maybe he'd get more attention if he had Kurt Warner and Carson Palmer his whole career instead of Ryan Lindley, Max Hall, John Skelton, etc. Do you think that Larry Fitzgerald, given he was in Arizona, revolving door of mediocrity for the most part at quarterback, do we not appreciate him the way that we would or should if he'd been with a higher profile team and a better quarterback for most of his career?
I mean, maybe, but you could say that about 100 players in NFL history. Every year when I get in the Hall of Fame room, we start talking about the guys from the teams, the underappreciated teams. Why isn't Tommy Nobis in the Hall of Fame? He was what Dick Butkus was. It's just his team lost all the time. And I get that. I understand that. And there's no question. If Larry Fitzgerald had Steve Young and Joe Montana as his quarterback for his career, there's a good chance he'd have more catches than Jerry Rice. I get that. Because if Jerry Rice had had Max Hall throwing him the ball, he wouldn't have 1,500 and whatever, 60 catches, whatever the number is. But that's the way life goes. And I do think sometimes that we get so consumed with individual numbers and records and all those things that we don't sit back and realize and think about the greatness of individual players on their face, okay, without looking at the numbers. Let's not look at the numbers. Let's look at one of the things that made Larry Fitzgerald so great, and that is his utter, absolute unselfishness at a position where divas reign. And you see it time and time and time again. Never in 100 years would Larry Fitzgerald not congratulate, one of his fellow receivers after they caught a touchdown pass or made a big first down, because he's happy. It's a good thing for the team. And that is one of the things that I take from Larry Fitzgerald's career. You heard a lot about, at different times, Jerry Rice's, selfishness. Throw me the ball, throw me the ball, throw me the ball. And, you just don't hear that out of Larry Fitzgerald because he has been his entire career a team guy.
One of the things I wish we would have seen more of over the years is Larry Fitzgerald in the postseason, because he seems to always find a higher level when he gets to those playoff games. 2008, an incredible run. That in and of itself put him on the radar screen for the possibility of Canton, and he's only built on that ever since then. And, Peter, my theory is that he won't be back in Arizona once they signed A.J. Green. That was that. I think, and I don't know anything here. I never know anything, but that's never stopped me. I think that Fitzgerald and the Buccaneers may be destined to be a match at the right time. You've got Bruce Arians there. You've got Jason Light there. You've got Tom Brady there. You've got a receivers coach who worked with Fitzgerald in Arizona. And you've got an opportunity for Larry Fitzgerald to walk off into the sunset with a Super Bowl ring for a team that has managed to hold it all together. And I think once the Bucs get to the point where they've exhausted their effort to hold everything together, and they're almost there, they're down to two guys, Leonard Fournette and Antonio Brown, you can pivot to a Larry Fitzgerald. And you do it at the right time, it'd be the biggest story in the NFL on the day that it happens if you pick the right day to do it.
Mike, at some point, I think you have to look at your team and be a little bit realistic. That if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, at some point, you've got to say, we really can't do anymore. And if we actually did this, it reminds me of all these guys right now. I don't know how the system works in the NBA, but all these guys getting bought out, and then they can go play for whatever team they want. The Lakers or the Nets or Utah, whatever it is. And I just sort of ask myself the question, how much is enough? And what do you say to all of the receivers on your team? Right? If you were to bring in Larry Fitzgerald, knowing that Bruce Arians is madly in love with Larry Fitzgerald and is going to find a way to get him catches, as is Byron Leftwich, he loves him too. What do you say to the young Tyler Johnson, the second-year receiver who showed so much promise? What do you say to Scotty Mitchell, who played a gigantic role in helping you win the NFC Championship game last year? What do you say to Antonio Brown? And again, I realize you're not worried about Antonio Brown, but at some point, you've got to understand that there's only so many catches to go around. I don't see it. I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility. I think it'd be kind of foolish.
All due respect to Antonio Brown, and I respect the fact that he has managed to stay out of trouble for the most part. The swap of Brown for Larry Fitzgerald, no-brainer. Bring me that NFL Walter Payton
That's
Man
if
of the
they
Year
don't
patch
bring
on the
Antonio
jersey.
Brown back.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that may be one of the reasons they haven't. I just have a weird. It's March 26th, and Larry Fitzgerald hasn't announced anything about his future. The moment the Cardinals sign A.J. Green, that's when I say he's not going to go back to Arizona. And I just think that everyone involved is waiting for the right moment, and it's just going to be the cannonball into the deep end of the pool, and people are going to go, whoa, wow, Larry Fitzgerald to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think that just the last little bit of insurance against complacency, Peter, because I don't think they will be complacent, not with Tom Brady around. You throw into the mix a guy who wants to go out with a championship. That's just that extra little impetus to get the Buccaneers players motivated to go climb the mountain that they just climbed once. You want to go back and do it again because now you're doing it for Larry Fitzgerald.
Can I just say one other thing about Fitzgerald to the Bucs? Look, if they did this, Jason Light has built this house of cards, where, he keeps adding one, and he's just very, very careful that he adds it so that the whole thing doesn't collapse. My question is, Jason Light at some point has to think about 2024. He has to. And he can't just keep borrowing against the future with, luxuries right now because he thinks that this would give us a 0.5% chance more to win a second Super Bowl. The crash and burn of this team, unless the salary cap is $280 million in 2023 or 24, could be ugly, especially when you have to draft John Doe to be your next quarterback. So I don't know, Mike. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying that financially, I'd have to be really comfortable that this wasn't going to be another brick in the wall of a bad construction job for 23 and 24.
Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we shall be 5-12. That's my position on it. Go for it now. You know what?
I see you've updated that. It's 5-12. I like that.
I'm doing my best. It's taken a while to add in. It's been 40-plus years of 6-10, 5-11, 7-9, 8-8. We got to get used to adding that 17th number to the analysis, even if it's 8-8-1, which probably will happen at some point.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.